Spiritual gumbo, no good deed. So, before we even get crazy, let's do a quick little review, right? Of what took place. And what took place was the Egyptians, I mean, just if you put it in plain language, Moses didn't keep his word. Right on? He did what he was commanded to do. Right on? He told Pharaoh one thing and did another when it's all said and done. With that being said, though, they're a legitimate fighting force, okay, to be reckoned with. Now, just to read the last part of what took place, we need to understand what happened. Okay. And we're in chapter 15. And we ended in chapter 14, right? Where these Egyptians come, and they're pretty much like, look, we can't let them go. We gave them silver and gold and everything. We can't just let them leave now. Right on? They lied, and now they're trying to spoil us. For good cause, they went after the children of Israel. Don't ever think it wasn't for a good cause. It only makes sense. You know what I'm saying? People read the scripture sometimes and put this block in their mind as if because it's happening for these people, everything they're doing is okay. It's not okay. Can you dig that? It's not okay. It's only righteous by the mandate of the Most High God. But what they did, apparently, in the physical flesh, was not okay to the Egyptians. Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened. Going forward. We're in chapter 15, verse 1, and it says, Moses, right? We're going to read verse 31 and just move on down. And Israel saw the mighty hand, the things which the Lord did to the Egyptians. And the people feared the Lord, and they believed God and Moses his servant. Verse 1 of chapter 15. Then Moses and the children of Israel. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song to God, and spoke, saying, let us sing to the Lord, for he is very greatly glorified. Horse and rider he has thrown into the sea. He was to me a helper and a protector for salvation. This is my God, and I will glorify him, my father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord bringing wars to naught, meaning to end. The Lord is his name. He has cast the chariots of Pharaoh and his host into the sea, and the chosen mounted captains. They were swallowed up in the Red Sea. He covered them with the sea. They sank to the depth like a stone. Thy right hand, O God, has been glorified in strength. Thy right hand, O God, has broken the enemies. And in the abundance of thy glory, thou hast broken the adversaries to pieces. Thou sentest forth thy wrath. It devoured them as stubble. And by the breath of thine anger, the water parted asunder. And the water congealed as a wall. Here we go. Stop right there for just half a second before we get going all the way in. This is a prayer that they're all singing together. I don't know who's in charge, but they're pretty much singing together when this is happening. And they're overcome with joy right now. Also afraid because they're like, whoa, did that just really happen? That really just happened. Whoa, this is really the one. This is real. Once again, some people might find it hard to believe, but the Egyptians dealt with high-level demons who call themselves gods. Okay? They dealt with them. I'm sure they likened the Messiah, a.k.a. God, to a demon at first. Then he shewed his power. Then they were like, this ain't no demon. This is clearly somebody from the true heavens and not one who has to actually they do all their tallying and tarrying in this realm, so to speak. And having said that, let's just go back to verse 8. And by the breath of thine anger, the water parted asunder. The waters were congealed as a wall. The waves were congealed in the midst of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue. I will overtake. I will divide the spoils. I will satisfy my soul. I will destroy with my sword. My hand shall have dominion. Verse 10. Thou sentest forth thy wind. The sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty water. Note that they knew about lead sinking. Verse 11. Who is like thee among the gods, O Lord? Who is like to thee? Glorified in holiness, marvelous in glories, doing wonders. Thou stretchest forth thy right hand, and the earth swallowed them up. Thou hast guided in thy righteousness this thy people. Thou hast guided in thy righteousness this thy people, whom thou hast redeemed. By the great strength thou hast called them into this holy resting place. Stop right there. Note that he's saying that they were redeemed by the Messiah. Listen, the Messiah is an acting general for the Most High. I can't stress this enough. If you believe the Most High God is getting off of his throne to come down here to earth to do your biddings, you lie. There's only a few moments where I know Moses sees the... Anyway, we'll break into that later. Going forward. He's a cloud. He's taken the Most High's taken the form of a cloud and fire, y'all. The real angel, tangible form. Anyway, you'll understand me in about 4 chapters, I'm thinking. 5 chapters the most. It's going to start to congeal and come together. Because Moses is going to want the being to manifest himself. It's going to be very interesting. Pay attention when that comes around. We're not going to get to it today. We're just going to barely get through this chapter. Verse 12. Thou stretchest forth thy right hand. The earth swallowed them up. Thou hast guided in thy righteousness this thy people, whom thou hast redeemed. By thy strength thou hast called them into the holy resting place. The nations heard and were angry. Pangs have seized on the dwellers among the Philistines. Then the princes of Edom and the chiefs of the Moabites hasted. Trembling took hold upon them. All the inhabitants of Canaan melted away. Let trembling and fear fall upon them by the greatness of thine arm. Let them become as stone till thy people pass over, O Lord. Till this thy people pass over, whom thou hast purchased. Understand, he is telling you right now again, okay, that through the means of claiming the people as his own people, that's his form of purchasing the people. Come on, and paying the ransom. Can you dig that? Don't think that the Messiah did not have his top angelic forces with him when they were running amok in Egypt. That's when Jacob seen the encampment of the angels. I'm trying to tell y'all, why do you think the same angels left by night? And who do you think some of the energy is inside of the Ark of the Covenant? That's neither here nor there. Going forward. People were like, that's only the Most High. I'm like, man, y'all better just listen, please. And we're going to get somewhere. I promise. Verse 16. Let trembling and fear fall upon them by the greatness of thine arm. Let them become as stone till thy people pass over, O Lord. Till this thy people pass over, whom thou hast purchased. Bring them in, and plant them in the mountain of their inheritance, in the prepared habitation, which thou, O Lord, thine hands have made ready, the mountain of their inheritance. Did you hear that? The mountain of their inheritance, in thy prepared habitation, which thou, O Lord, hast prepared. The sanctuary, O Lord, which thine hands have made ready. The Lord reigns forever and ever and ever. For the horse of Pharaoh went in with the chariots and horsemen into the sea. And the Lord brought upon them the water of the sea. And the children of Israel walked through dry land in the midst of the sea. And Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, having taken a timbrel in her hand, then went forth all the women after her with timbrels and dances. And Miriam led them, saying, Let us sing to the Lord, for he has been greatly glorified. The horse and the rider has he cast into the sea. So Moses brought up the children of Israel from the Red Sea, and brought them into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness, and found no water to drink. And they came to Marah, and they could not drink of Marah, for it was bitter. Therefore he named the name of that place Bitterness. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? And Moses cried to the Lord. And if you don't think he cried, he was crying. And the Lord shewed him a tree, and he cast it into the water, and the water was sweetened. There he established him ordinances and judgments, and there he was proved like gold. And said, If thou wilt indeed hear the voice of the Lord thy God, and do things pleasing before him, and will hearken to his commands, and keep all his ordinances, no disease which I brought upon the Egyptians will I bring upon thee. For I am the Lord thy God that heals thee. And they came to Elim, and there was 12 mountains of water, and 70 stems of palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters. Stop right there. We're coming into chapter 16. We're gonna cut off chapter 16, and I'm gonna get out this book of Enoch, right? And we're gonna read something very interesting. And I'm gonna ask you, just once again, did it sound like Enoch saw the whole world, or is it just me? We're gonna go into the chapter of roughly 89. And do you guys notice that there's palm trees there? Interesting, huh? Going forward. Listen to this. Verse 14. No, verse 13 in the middle. And when those 12 sheep had grown, they gave up one of them to the asses. And those asses gave up that sheep to the wolves. And that sheep grew up among the wolves. And the Lord brought the 11 sheep to live with it, and to pasture with it among the wolves. And they multiplied and became many flocks of sheep. And the wolves began to fear them. And they oppressed them until they destroyed. Until they destroyed. Cry aloud on account of their until the destroyed cry aloud on account of their little ones, and to complain unto their Lord. Interesting, listen to this. And the sheep which had been saved from the wolves fled and escaped to the wild asses. Sounds very interesting, doesn't it? And I saw that sheep, how they lamented and cried and besought their Lord with all their might, till that the Lord of the sheep descended at the voice of the sheep from a lofty abode, and came to them, and pastured them. And he called that sheep which had escaped the wolves, and spoke with it concerning the wolves, that it should admonish them not to touch the sheep. And the sheep went to the wolves, according to the word of the Lord. And another sheep met it, sounds like Aaron, and went with it. And the two went and entered together into the assembly of those wolves, and spake with them, and admonished them not to touch the sheep from henceforth. And thereupon I saw the wolves, and how they oppressed the sheep exceedingly with all their power. And the sheep cried aloud, and the Lord came to the sheep, and they began to smite those wolves. And the wolves began to make lamentation. But the sheep became quiet, and forthwith ceased to cry out. And I saw the sheep till they departed from amongst the wolves. But the eyes of the wolves were blinded. And those wolves departed in pursuit of the sheep with all their power. And the Lord of the sheep went with them as their leader. And all his sheep followed him. and his face was dazzling and glorious and terrible to behold. But the wolves began to pursue those sheep till they reached a sea of water. A sea. And that sea was divided. And the water stood on this side and on that, before their face. And their Lord led them, and he placed himself between them and the wolves. This is explained about the pillar of fire and the cloud. And as those wolves did not yet see the sheep, they proceeded into the midst of that sea. And the wolves followed the sheep, and those wolves ran after them into the sea. And when they saw the Lord of the sheep, they turned to flee before his face. But the sea gathered itself together, and it became as it had been created. And the water swelled and rose till it covered those wolves. And I saw till all the wolves who pursued those sheep perished and were drowned. But the sheep escaped from that water and went forth into a wilderness, where there was no water and no grass. And they began to open their eyes and see. And I saw that the Lord of the sheep was pasturing them, giving them water and grass. And that sheep was going and leading them. We're going to stop right there. Now, the reason why I go so far out of my way to distinguish the power level and then the spectra, I can't tell you like, in this very little moment, it's believable that the Messiah is actually present and available. The reason why is because it gives rise to like a physical being, right on, as opposed to like how we know that the Messiah can he took form many times already before this as a man. Word? Okay? He did that already. It's not above him to do that. But the Most High, right? No man shall see his face and yet live. This is why I say the little small distinctions where you have to know. I know that the cloud and the fire are the Most High. But are there functions wherein which maybe the Messiah is doing things for the Most High? Still in a medium where I'm not one to dictate his power level. But I do know this. I read some time ago in the New Testimony, and I forget, is it in the book of Matthew, I want to say? And it says something like, and when he rose, this is really, really paraphrasing. And when he rose, right, on that day, all the power in earth and in heaven was given to him. He has power in the earth and in the heaven. So it would explain the Messiah's ability to throw hailstones that's killing giants from the heavens. If you want to think that's the Most High, you can. But it just seems more believable that it's the Messiah doing that for the Most High God. Anyway, I've spoken a whole bunch. I hope that you took something with you. I know I talk fast. I'm sorry. I really am, but this is who I am. I appreciate your time. It is duly noted, my people. I salute you. And with that, much praises. Spiritual Gumbo, out.